Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we are doing our part 2 to our tumbler build. We are finishing up that turner. All the materials that we use today you can find in the description below, and I have my special guest with me here, my husband Jeff, and he is going to show you how he makes his turner for me. So here's Jeff.
I know some of you have been anxiously awaiting this second part of the build series on how to build a tumbler turner. So today we're at Lowe's instead of Home Depot. We're gonna go in there, we gotta get some lumber, we gotta get some plumbing, we gotta get some electrical stuff, so let's get to it. The first item on our list can be found in the 3/4 inch PVC plumbing section. And what we're looking for are 3/4 inch threaded female adapters. Let's grab 2 of those for today's project. Then we'll grab 2 3/4 inch threaded caps. The next item is optional. These are 3/4 inch slip caps. Rather than using the 3/4 inch slip caps, I prefer to use these 1/2 inch threaded plugs, but you use whatever works best for you. As you can see, the 1/2 inch threaded plug can be pressure fitted inside the 3/4 inch PVC pipe. We'll also need to grab a stick of this 3/4 inch PVC pipe. Now we're heading over to the lamp section and we need some lamp cord. Next we'll grab some 1/2 inch Schedule 40 PVC out of the electrical section. Then we'll grab a single gang electrical box that has a 1/2 inch inlet. We also need some 1/2 inch conduit clamps. Heading further down the electrical aisle, we're going to take a look at some switches. I see one here, and there's another one that I like down here, and Sandy likes this one a little better. This is a double switch so that you can control each turner individually. So we're going to grab one of those. And we'll grab a switch plate cover for that switch. Heading down the next aisle, we need to grab a couple of things, and the first thing we're going to get is these wire nuts. I'm just going to grab a variety pack. And we also need to grab a roll of electrical tape. Now over to the hardware aisle where we're going to grab some drywall screws. And then we're going to head over to the aisle that has all the air tools. This is where they keep the nails that we need. I'm going to grab some 2-inch 18 gauge brad nails for my nail gun. And then we're going to move on to the lumber section. And the first thing we're looking for over here is a 3/4 inch by 16 inch wood panel. In the same aisle where we found that panel, they also have pine boards, and we need to grab one 1x6. We're just going to get a 4-footer. And then we're also going to grab a 1x4 4-footer. Okay, we're all done at Lowe's. We got all our supplies, so let's head back to the house and we'll get started on this project. We're back from our trip to Lowe's. We got all our supplies for this project, and I just wanted to go over what tools we're going to be using. This is stuff that I didn't buy today. This is stuff that I had on hand, and maybe you have some of the same tools, or you could even use something different. I'll go over that as we go through the steps. The first tool I have is a circular saw. We'll be using that to make all our cuts today. Moving on, we've got a drill, which will be screwing some stuff together, and then we're also going to use a hole saw because we need to cut some circular holes in some of the wood. I got a level just for a straight edge so we can make sure that we're cutting straight, and then I've got an air nailer. We will nail some of the pieces together rather than screwing it. I'll go over the rest of these parts as we move along when we get to the step where we're going to be using this stuff. We're going to make a double turner today. So everything that we cut is pretty much going to be 12 inches. You want to figure 6 inches wide for each turner that you put in. So let's get started with our base. Just going to measure to 12 inches here. Make a mark and another mark at the other end of the board. And then I'll grab my straight edge here. I'm using a level, but you could use a scrap piece of wood or whatever you have on hand just to make a straight line. That way when you go to make your cut, you know right where to put your blade. Bring that up, make our line, and then we're gonna make our cut. I'm gonna use a circular saw to make this cut. You could use a hand saw if you don't have a circular saw, or if you have all the dimensions before you go to the store, a lot of these places will actually make the cuts for you in store. Next up is our 1x6 pine, and we're going to cut this to 12 inches as well. And we actually need 3 pieces of this 1x6. So let me measure the first piece. Okay. Straight edge. Get these pieces cut. The last board we need to cut is a 1x4 pine board, and once again, 12 inches. So pick our marks. Get our line, and I got this scrap piece here, so I'll just use that instead of my big level. And then we'll cut that piece, and we'll be ready to move on. Our boards are cut, so what we're left is a 3/4 inch by 16 inch that we've cut to 12 inches wide. We've got 3 1x6 that are cut to 12 inches wide, and a 1x4 that's cut to 12 inches wide. Okay, our next step is we need to drill some 1 1/4 inch holes through these 1x6s that we've cut. That allows the PVC to run from the motor that'll be attached to the back of the turner out the front of the turner so you can attach your wands. So I want to get these in the center of these boards. So these are 5.5 inches. So we're going to measure down 2 3/4 inches on each end. And then I will get a straight line there. Just as a guide. And then from there, I want to measure 3 inches from each edge. And that's going to be our center point for the holes. 3 inches from this edge. And that's right where we're going to put our drill bit for the holes. We need to drill these holes with the hole saw right directly on this mark that I marked on the top board. And to make sure that we're drilling through the same exact spot in each board, I'm going to use a clamp like this, a C-clamp. I'm just going to tighten that onto all of the boards to hold them securely together so they don't move while I'm drilling. If you don't have a C-clamp, you could do each board individually, or you could use something else to maybe hold them together. You could even screw or nail them together to hold them in place. But I like the C-clamp, and I have it on hand, so that's what we're going to use today. So to drill those holes, we're going to use what's called a hole saw, and it has a drill bit in the middle. You line that up with your mark, and then as you get down, it rotates this outside piece to cut down into the board. So what I want to do is just get this lined up on my mark, and we'll start. So after you get through the first board, you'll notice that there's a round piece of wood stuck in there and you can't go down any further with your hole saw. So you have to dig that out of there. You can either pull this thing apart, or there's these little holes in the side and you can just kind of use a nail to pry it out. Just have to work it side to side and it will come out of there. Once you've worked the sides far enough, you can see it's popped up there and I can just pull it out by hand. You may have noticed in the video that it was smoking a little bit. That's all right. This bit's probably just a little dull, but that's just what happens when you get friction on wood. It'll start smoking, but don't worry, it won't catch on fire. So let's continue our cuts. All the way through, and you can probably tell from the time lapse that I ended up taking these apart. You want to wear gloves because this thing gets hot from all that friction. So we are all the way through with the drill bit part. You can see that there's holes that go all the way through, but I didn't want to cut all the way through. I want to flip this over because otherwise, if we didn't do that, we would see how it's kind of splintered there. You'd have splinters on that whole entire piece. So I want to come back through. I already know where to line up my drill bit, and then we'll finish our cuts. Took our top board that we already marked a line that's the center of these cutouts on it, and we're actually going to cut this board in half. These two will stay whole because these will be the back pieces. This will be the front where the tumbler wands actually rest. All right, we're done cutting now. So what we're going to do next is we're going to mark off where we want to attach our boards on the base. So we're going to put a mark at 1.25 inches, 3.5, and 9.5 on both ends. So 1.25 inches, 3.5, 9.5. And I'll use my straight edge. Nice straight lines there, so we have a guide. And that's where each of these boards is going to sit. So we'll have one back here on this line, right up against it. One just in front of it, put it up against that line, and then our half one will go right up here, put it against that line. And then we'll take our 1x4 and set it up on the top here, and that just makes a little shelf for our switches, and then we're also going to have 2 drying stands up there as well. Next, we're going to take our boards that we've cut and drilled, and we're going to attach them right on where we marked our lines earlier. And I'm going to use my nail gun, but you can use whatever you have. Whether you nail them by hand or screw them. But I just got that lined up right with my line. Put a quick nail in it. Now it's attached. I'll finish. I'll put several nails in there, and I'll kind of angle them too, just so they don't want to wiggle out of there as you use the turner. Got all our boards attached. You can see everything's nice and secure there. So next we're going to show how the motors are attached, and I gotta just cut a little piece of PVC pipe. I already made a mark here at 3.5 inches. Yeah, you can adjust the length, but I find that 3.5 inches is about what we need. And I'm not gonna drag out the miter saw today. I'll just use this to make our cut. So there's a little blade in there, and you just tighten this down and spin it around. Then you tighten it a little bit more, and you just keep spinning. We've got our piece of PVC that's cut to 3.5 inches, and a lot of people will use a cap like this. You can use that, it fits right on the end. You just drill a hole through for the motor shaft to go in there. Another piece that I've used that I found was a little easier to drill through the center, and it actually fits right in there. This is a 1/2 inch threaded piece, and you can just kind of pressure fit it in there and it won't come out. So what I'll do is take my drill bit, which is the same size as this motor shaft. Now these are just the 5 to 6 RPM synchronous motors. This is the same kind of motor that goes in like a microwave for the turntable, and they work perfect for this. So I've got a drill bit the same size as that shaft. I'm just going to drill right through the center of this. You can just kind of eyeball it. It's not, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. That shaft will fit right in there. You'll notice that there's a hole through the middle of that shaft, and once you stick it through there, I didn't do it on this one yet, but you can drill a hole just big enough for like a little brad nail, and it will go through that and then right through here, and that'll be what connects the PVC to this motor shaft. And this is quite a bit longer than that, so then you can just use like some side cutters to trim that up. And then I'll show you, we already have one done over here. You can see the nail in there, and then we just put a dab of hot glue to make sure that that doesn't come out. But that's all attached to the motor, and it's ready to go. With our full motor and PVC assembly, you'll see that this just goes through those holes that we drilled earlier, and then I'll get these attached with screws on the back. They have a little flange there on each side. You can just put a like a drywall screw or any type of wood screw through there. And then on this side, I put my female threaded adapter onto the PVC pipe, and that's how we attach our wands, is they just screw right on there. So I'm gonna get these attached, and then I'll show you guys how we get them wired up with a switch. Drill a hole for our conduit to go through the top, and then our switch is going to sit right on top of that hole with the conduit going through. This kind of tidies up the wires behind there. So let me drill that out real quick. Hole that we just drilled, and this box will fit just right on the top. And we'll push it down. Everything's nice and snug. Usually we'll use these little clamps to hold that, but that's pretty tight. So I don't even think we're going to need those, so we'll take those back. We'll use them on another project. Before we move on to the wiring, I just want to let everybody know I'm not a licensed electrician. I've just done enough projects with electricity around the house and building these turners that I feel comfortable enough to do it myself. If you don't, find somebody who is, or hire somebody to do it for you, because electricity is a very serious thing. We want to make sure safety first. All right, next we're ready to do our wiring, and I hadn't used these switches before, so I kind of had to take a few minutes to figure out how to wire them up. It's kind of cool because it allows you to use the same circuit for both switches, where normally you'd have to run wiring for both circuits. It does have a little tab there to split the circuits, but we're not going to do that. So what I've got is this wire here comes off of our plug, and then these two wires are going to go down to our motor. And then the other wire off of our plug is just down here, and this is going to go to one side of the motor. It doesn't really matter which side. We'll just twist these together, and then we're gonna put a wire nut on them. And then these two go to the other wire on each motor. This is coming off that other side of the switch that I just showed you. So we'll get both of those buttoned up. I'm gonna put some wire nuts on. I'm not gonna show that on camera, but you get the idea. And then our switch fits up in the box here. You can screw it in just like a regular light switch in your house. We've got all our wiring done in the back. I did wire nuts and electrical tape. You just want to make sure none of the wiring is touching these, because these motors get hot after they run for a few hours, like they will when you're turning your cups. So all we've got left to do is we've got our switch is already screwed in. We just got to put our plate cover on, and then we're ready to turn. Now that we're all done, let's see how it works. We're going to take our plunger wand that we made in the last tutorial, put that in a 30 ounce. That will just screw on there. Now obviously you would have epoxy, so you'd want to hold it up here. That's why I like to have, you know, enough room up here. It just screws in there, turn it on, we're ready to go. Now I also have a football wand here with a 20 ounce skinny. And we'll put that one on this side. Flip it on, and that one's ready to go. Now we've done a double turner here, but you know, if you feel the need to have a quad turner, or if you need 6 or 8 or 10 of them, we've got a 10 turner in there. You can just add on as you go, as you need it. Or you can just duplicate what we've done here and make one big turner all at one time. One more thing I wanted to show you on this is after after these are done turning, they're still a little bit tacky and you don't want to set them on anything. So we're gonna put a little drying rack up on here so they can sit upright and finish curing. So what I've got here is just some 3/4 inch threaded caps, and I already went and drilled some holes in there. And you just set it up on there, use a screw to secure it. And we'll put one over on this side as well. Then we can take our tumblers off the turner and screw it here. Put it up on our drying rack. This other one, same thing. Screw it. It's up on the rack. They're out of the way. You don't have to worry about anybody touching them, or you know where you're going to set them at, and you can get your next set of tumblers on the turner. Now you know how to make your very own tumbler turner on the cheap. Everything that you see in this video and in my previous video, if you haven't seen that, check it out, how to make the wands. All that stuff can be bought at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can do this yourself at home. It's really easy to do. If you guys have any questions, make sure to put it in the comments below. I will reply back. If you have any suggestions for me, put it in the comments. We read them all the time. So, and we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, and we'd love to hear the feedback. So make sure to give us a like, a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.